As mentioned in the previous video, one advantage of downloading data from the NIST website is that you can then migrate it into some spreadsheet program where you can perform a calculation or do some sort of analysis. So I'm going to walk through an example of that now. Let's imagine that we have the following problem, which is that we're asked to figure out how the specific volume of a liquid vapor water mixture depends upon the quality, and we're given a temperature range between 100 degrees C and 120 degrees C. So again, we'll go to the same NIST website. And again, I'm going to show you what I see on my screen here, and we'll blow this up so that you can actually read it. So the first step is actually just to download that data. So we go through, this is the website. This time, we're dealing with water, so we want to select our substance as water. And we'll use Celsius. For the pressure, we'll use bar. Density, kilograms per cubic meter. For the energy, we'll choose kilojoules per kilogram. It might not matter. Now in this case, we're interested in saturation properties because ultimately this is a mixture that we're dealing with. And I'll continue. So now I can specify the low temperature and the high temperature, and the increment will just go by 1 degree C, and again we increase the precision over here. Now we didn't have to specify a pressure because remember, under the vapor dome, if you pick the temperature, you pick the pressure. So now you can see that we have this data graphically, and if we go down here to the specific volume, oh, there's a separate entry for the vapor and for the liquid. Now, your textbook does this too. Those are the saturation values. So we're going to have to do a calculation to assemble the total specific volume associated with both of those phases. So let's go ahead and download the data. This is a huge data table, and we'll go ahead and save it to our computer here. This is similar to what I showed you in the previous video, but we'll rename the data so that we know what we're looking at. This is water between 100 and 120 degrees C. So we'll save that locally. The next task is to open this up and to analyze it in a spreadsheet program. I've selected Google Sheets because I know for a fact, by virtue of having a PLU account, that you have access to Google Sheets. You can imagine following a very similar procedure if you wanted to import data into Excel or Numbers or some other spreadsheet program. Before we proceed, in the upper right, I'm going to print out an equation that we'll need later relating the overall specific volume of a mixture to the two saturation states. Remember, V sub F is the saturation state on the liquid side of the vapor dome, V sub G is the saturation state on the gas side, the vapor side of the vapor dome, and X is the quality. So we'll have that equation handy when we need it. Alright, now our first step is to import that file that I just downloaded into Google Sheets. So let's do that first. This is Google Sheets, and I'm just going to open a blank spreadsheet. And now, after it opens, I can go over here and import. And I'm going to select uploading because I downloaded it previously to my computer. So we go here and find it, and I named it appropriately, so it's the water file. And now it uploads, and we'll replace the spreadsheet, that's fine, detect automatically. You don't want to convert text to numbers, dates, and formulas. I can't imagine that that would help you in your analysis. And here, everything opens. Our next step is going to be to delete a lot of this extraneous data. So you can see we have temperature over here and it goes down to 120. Here's the specific volume, but that's for the liquid case. Then there's a bunch of stuff we don't care about. So I'm just going to delete these columns. So if I select them all and then right click, I can delete those. Now we want to make sure we keep the specific volume for the vapor case. So we'll delete the things in between. And then we'll go through and delete some of the other things to the right of this. I'm just cleaning house here so it's easier to see what we're doing. Okay, so now we have columns for the specific volume for the saturated liquid and saturated vapor, and I'm going to add a few more columns to do calculations over here on the right. So the first case, I'm just going to enter this as specific volume, and this is the total specific volume for the mixture now. And then the other column is going to be the quality. And the idea is to investigate this question we were asked. I'm going to enter some numerical value of the quality. Let's start with 1, and I'll propagate this through all of these cells corresponding to all of the different rows for which we have temperature information. And now I'm going to use this column to enter in the formula in the upper right. So the total specific volume here is going to be V sub F plus quality times the quantity, V sub G, minus V sub F. Now I'll close the parentheses and hit enter. Now it calculated The reason that I selected a quality of 1 is that if I typed my formula correctly, the specific volume total should match the specific volume for the saturated vapor, right? Because a quality of 1 means that the entire mixture is vapor. Likewise, if we change the quality now to be 0, that corresponds to a saturated liquid, and now our values match up to the saturated case that we already had. That's a good double check to make sure that you didn't accidentally type a plus or something, or screw something else up. Now I'm going to change the quality to an intermediate number that might be more interesting, and in this case it's 0.37, so now we have a total specific volume that's different than anything we could have easily looked up in the tables. Now I'll change it to 0.82, and you get the idea. You can imagine that you could go through and characterize your system for whatever quality you wanted to enter in. All you have to do is change the number over here in the rightmost column, and you can get the total specific volume immediately just from doing this simple calculation. Now this is something you could do by hand if you only had one temperature to deal with, but if you really needed to know the specific volume as it behaved over a range of temperatures and for a range of qualities, well, a spreadsheet program's the way to go, right? Okay, I hope that helps.